This session is going to be about getting your computer organized. And to do that, we're going to use the program Windows Explorer. So we're going to talk a lot about the ins and outs of Windows Explorer. So, why organize your computer? Why should we do this? The basic reason is so you can find the stuff that's in your computer. For example, this is a Microsoft Word document. Now, if I go looking for another Microsoft Word document, I click File, I then click Open, and I usually come up with a box that shows me the stuff in my documents. Well, what's in my documents? Are there a bunch of folders, well organized, or are there just a bunch of individual files spread all over your computer, 200 or 300 of them, or 400 or 1,000, not organized in any particular way? And as you can tell, even the guy who's trying to teach this stuff has some stuff that is buried not necessarily in any particular document, but right in my documents. Here's something that I put together in 2005, and I haven't the slightest idea what that is, and I'm afraid to look at it. So, point is, why organize your computer? So you can find things easily. Now, let's talk about Windows Explorer. To get to Windows Explorer depends on which version of Windows you're using. But what you want to look for is an icon that looks like a bunch of file folders. That's what Windows Explorer is. It's a place that shows you all the files and all the folders that the files are in your computer. I have it down here on my taskbar. If you don't, you can find it in your version of Windows by going to Programs or All Programs and then looking in Accessories. In Windows 7, which is what you see here, Accessories has things like Paint and Notepad and Calculator in it, but down here with that little bitty set of file folders, you find Windows Explorer. And if you click that, Windows Explorer will open. Now, before we go any farther, let me get one thing stuck in your head. There are two programs on your computer, if it's a Windows computer, by the name of Explorer. This is Windows Explorer, and it allows you to explore the things that are in your computer using a Windows program or a Windows operating system. The other thing in your computer named Explorer is Internet Explorer. And this is one of Mr. Gates' great failings, in my opinion. He named these two things Explorer. This one is an internet browser, and if you click there, you will not get the place that lets you get your computer organized. You will get the internet. So, you want Windows Explorer for this discussion. Now, before we go any farther, let me point out the way that my Windows Explorer is displayed, which may or may not be the same way that yours will be when you start it. This has two columns. The first column shows all the things in your computer, which I'll go through in a minute, organized a certain way, and the second column shows the things in the item that you have highlighted on the left. Shows those things that are in that item over on the right. If it doesn't look like that, if it looks like this, see, No left-hand column, just the four things on the right. You go to Organize, and within Organize you go to the Layout, and you make sure that the navigation pane is selected so that you have the left column and the right column. You can also, if you wish, I do not wish, but you may, add a preview pane. So when you select something here, you would see a preview of it if it were a file. It's not, it's a folder. I don't happen to find that preview pane very useful, so I don't have it checked in the layout. All right, now let's look at the things that are in Windows Explorer on the left side and how they are organized. To do that, let's go to a photo that I just put in my computer to demonstrate something about Windows Explorer in an earlier version of Windows. If we go to the libraries, you will see, and this is true for all of these, that wherever there are these little triangles next to a folder, it means that there are other folders under that, within that folder. And this one means that there are still other folders within that folder, and there are still other folders within that folder. And in my photos, I have a thing called Snips. And within Snips, I have a folder labeled July 2014, and within that I have one photo. And if I double click that icon, it shows, this happens to be a screen snapshot of a one particular spot in a mini seminar that I did, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago when I was using Windows XP, and this shows you what the left pane looks like in Windows XP. It's similar. Instead of having little triangles, it has plus signs there, and when you click the plus sign, the next set of folders to the right opens up. Now, let's talk about how you navigate around the way I just did in Windows Explorer. Let's take what's in Libraries. In Libraries, there are 4 folders: Documents, Music, Pictures, and Video. If we want to see what's in the Documents folder, there are 3 ways to get there. One is to simply click on the Documents folder, and you are shown all the folders and all the files that are in the Documents folder. Any files that are in this folder are not shown until I put that particular folder over on the left. But any files that are not in any subfolder of Documents are shown here after the last alphabetical folder. The next way to see what's in Documents is to double-click Documents over on the right. I just double-clicked it. It put the selection on the left in Documents, and you see exactly what you saw before. And the third way to do that is to click the little triangle, which shows only the 2 folders that are in the Documents folder, not the files that are in the Documents folder. One more thing. I opened that photo by saying I'm double-clicking here, and it is possible to open files in your computer with just a single click. In order to do that, you have to change the way your computer functions. And you do that by, in Windows Explorer, you click Tools. And down here, there is a place called Folder Options. And within Folder Options, you have a choice of single-clicking to open an item or double-clicking to open an item. Besides libraries, Windows Explorer comes with another couple of groups. One is your computer, which shows your C drive, your actual hard drive on your computer, and any other drives or, well, any other drives that you have connected to it. But there's another place called Favorites. Let's talk about that for a minute. Favorites comes with your desktop on it. If I click on that, it'll show all the things that are actually on my desktop. When I click here, I don't show any things on my desktop, but if I right-click there and click View, Show Desktop Items, then there are all the items that are on my desktop. I'm going to set that back, View, unclick, Show Desktop Items, because I like a clear desktop. But here are the things that are actually on my desktop. It also shows downloads, which is handy if you download a lot of different stuff. It shows all the things that are in your download folder, which I do not clean out very often. And there's some pretty big things in there. There's 11 megabytes, some applications. I don't think I have any. Oh, wow. There's 141 megabytes of a setup for something. Probably ought to work on that next time I get around to organizing my computer. It shows recent places, and then it shows a couple of other things that I have put in my favorites so I can get to them quickly. Let me show you how to do that. If you are in Favorites and you right-click on Favorites, one of the options is Add Current Location to Favorites. Well, what it would add is favorites. It would add favorites to favorites. That's not what I want. Let's say that I have a particular set of pictures in my computer that I go to all the time. Let's say it's pictures of my family. I put my mouse over family in my photos, and then when I go up to Favorites and right-click and say Add Current Location to Favorites, I get family there. And if I click here, I get exactly the same thing as if I click there. It just makes getting to a place you go to often easier. And if you right-click on it, you can remove that from Favorites. Now let's talk about organizing your computer. I recommend that you organize your computer the way you think, the way you organize your life. If you spend half your time in Hawaii and half your time in San Diego, maybe you want to split your computer files between San Diego files and Hawaii files. I don't do it that way. I organize my computer by the way I do things. I spend a lot of time while I'm in Hawaii with the Barbershop Harmony Society's chapter in Hawaii called The Sounds of Aloha. I spend a lot of the time while I'm in San Diego with the Senior Computer Group. So I have files and folders for those two things within my Documents files. I build a tree for all the document and other files in my computer, and I build a totally separate tree for all the photos in my computer, at least almost all the photos in my computer. That's the basic way that I suggest that you organize your computer, the way you think. And since I have never been inside anybody else's mind, I can't tell you the way that is, but I can show you how mine is organized, and that will give you some idea of what might work for you. In my computer, under my documents, there is a folder called Documents. And in that folder is most of the stuff that I go back to time after time. And those things are in 3 of the subfolders under Documents. One of them is in Camtasia Studio, and in Camtasia Studio are the folders that contain every one of these videos that I have made, one of which right now is the one I'm working on and recording at this moment, and is called Organizing Your Computer. Another one is Documents Often Used. This has almost all the files that I have saved over the years, that I have produced, that I have saved, or that I have received and scanned and put in someplace where I'm sure that where I can find it again. Things that I get from my doctor, medical reports that I get from my hospital when I get lab work done are in medical. Things relating to my military service or military service in general are in military, under Documents Often Used. There's a whole other category which is labeled Items from the Internet. I set it up way back when. Let's see. I can right-click on that and show properties, and it will tell me when I set it up or last changed it. This probably was, I know what this was. This was when I bought a new computer and installed all the old files from my old computer on the new computer. So the date is 2012. It really was created a lot earlier than that. At any rate, most of the things in Items from the Internet are things that have to do with my vacation rental in Princeville. And all of these folders here that start off PV, which go from here down to here, have to do with that vacation rental in Princeville. One other thing is here, Corel user files. I used to have a program on my DOS computer called WordPerfect, and I generated a lot of WordPerfect data, a lot of WordPerfect files in, and they were filed under the old WordPerfect system in a folder called WP Data. And every one of those files is here. And if I have a program, and I do, that can open old WordPerfect files, I can go back and look at those old WordPerfect files that I created. Let's see, there are 1,486 old WordPerfect files in there. I'm a pack rat. So, now let's talk about how I organize Documents Often Used, because that's really the crux of this discussion. How do you set up the things that you want to keep under your basic folder called Documents, or whatever you want to call it? I call it Documents Often Used. Well, I set it up the way I think. If I have a list of people who have worked on my house here in San Diego, or on my house in Hawaii, or on the place in Princeville, I have put them all for years and years and years. You know, San Diego, a roofer who did the KPV, according to Ron Parnes, some appliance repair, tree service. I have put those all in a Microsoft Word document. Here are all the ones down to here in San Diego, and then starting here are all the ones in Kailua in Hawaii for the house that I have there. And then starting here are the two that I have for Princeville. My son takes care of, who lives in Princeville, takes care of that house. That's why there are only two in there. So that, the handyman document, is one of the very few files. In fact, it's one of the very few files that I have in this folder, which is under documents often used. Here's one for computer stuff. If I double click that, you will find that there's a lot of information about my computer, hard drive content, Microsoft Online crash analysis. But if I go here to documents often used and go down a little further, I have a folder called SCG stuff. And in SCG stuff, I have a folder about anniversaries of the Seniors Computer Group. And within that, I have the 28th anniversary that I worked on, and I now have a folder for the 30th anniversary that we're going to be celebrating this fall, because I'm going to be working on that. Here's the planning meeting PDF about that. So there is one other way to organize your documents that I don't use very often. I use it more for photos than for regular documents, and that is to organize it by date. If you go back to the Senior Computer Group stuff folder and look at that, you will see that there are two folders in here that are labeled by the year. I put some things in those folders that happened that particular year, I think because they were pertinent to that particular year and some problems that I was having in that particular year. That is a way that you can organize your files. It is a way that I do it more often for photos, but not so much for files. You won't find these 2010, 2011 folders in most of the folders that I use for documents. So how do you actually organize the documents in your computer? Well, let's set up a fictitious demonstration a set of folders that are a tree for files. Let's call the folder we're going to keep this in the SCG demo folder, and I'm going to put that in documents. The way I do that is to select that document and come up here to the top and click, or select that folder here, documents, and come up here and click New Folder. And a new folder, alphabetically between M and P, comes up, and if I start typing, I can give it a name. I'm going to call it SCG, standing for Seniors Computer Group, Demo, standing for Demonstration, Organization, Senior Computer Group Demo of Organization. I'll type enter, and that is now here. It's now between Scan Documents and Shortcuts, because now within that I now have selected the SCG Demo Organization, and there's nothing in it. Supposing that I wanted to organize my files the way I organize my life, and I had two big parts of my life, which were Seniors Computer Group type enter, and once again, new folder, and I will type Sounds of Aloha. That is the name of the chorus that I belong to, the barbershop chorus I belong to in Hawaii. Let's say another big part of my life was traveling. That's the way I set up 3 folders in my Senior Computer Group demo organization files. Now, let's just say that, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to make one other folder that says junk, because I have junk in my computer, just like everybody else. So let's go way back to the time when I showed you that in my documents, I had a thing called the Kailua Beach story, remember? Well, I'm going to double click and show you what that is. Isn't that a wonderful document? Well, I'm now going to move that document to the junk file in my Senior Computer Group demo organization folder. I'll go back to Windows Explorer, and I will, there are several ways you can do it, but the way I'm going to do it is drag and drop. And I will go to the SCG demo organization, and I will click just the little triangle, and then, which shows me the 4 folders in my SCG demo organization that I just made, and I'm going to take this one right here, I'm going to right drag, and I'm going to right drag it to junk, and then when I let go of the right mouse key, I have a choice of copying it here or moving it here. I'm going to move it there. And it says it can't be, it can't be completed because the file is open. So I'll go back to here, and I will close that particular file and try again. And now it should be in junk. And it is. The Kailua Beach story is now in junk. And when after I'm through recording this mini seminar, I'm going to go through and delete this folder and everything in it, and that will delete that Kailua Beach story, which I really don't need in my computer. Of course, if I were doing this for my whole computer, I would go and find all the files that have to do with the Seniors Computer Group that were scattered around in my computer and not organized under SCG stuff as mine are, and I would put them in this folder, maybe with a bunch of subfolders underneath them, like board business, bits and bytes, mini seminars I have given, etc. And then I would go through and find all the things for my barbershop course in Hawaii that are filed in my computer. They also have a newsletter. They have board information, so I have minutes of board meetings there, and I would put them here. Now you might ask, just how do I find all the Seniors Computer Group stuff in my computer so that I can put it in this Seniors Computer Group folder that I've just created? Well, if you're somewhat organized already and you have given your Seniors Computer Group files a name that is consistent throughout all those files, as I have, I think, you can type SCG in the search window in Windows 7 or 8, and you will get a lot of things there that are documents and folders and etc. But if you even type or click see more results after you type SCG, look what happens. You get grunches and grunches of files that have SCG in them, or you eventually get things that are just S, but look at all these SCG items that are in my computer that I could in a batch by putting my cursor here and then putting it here with the shift key held down. I could get all of those files that say SCG in them and then right click and copy and paste, or right click and cut and paste to the new place. That's quite a capability in the search function of Windows 7 and Windows 8. I am going to show you one thing that I am going to reorganize actually during the making of this mini seminar, but I'm not going to do it here in the SCG demo organization. So I'm now going to remove this folder and everything in it. Let me show you how you do that. You select the folder, you right click on it, and then you click delete, and it gives you a warning. When you click delete, it says, do you want to move this folder to the recycle bin? Well, I really don't want it in the recycle bin because I want to get rid of it completely. Most things I would put, if I had a lot of stuff in here that was that I decided I didn't really want anymore, but there's a lot in there, I probably would say yes and keep it in the computer. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to delete it a different way. I'm going to right click on this, and then I am going to hold down the shift key and click delete, and it's asking me, are you sure you want to permanently delete this folder? And if I say yes, everything in that SCG demo organization folder and all the subfolders within it will be gone from my computer. You can't get it back if you do this. That's okay by me, because I'm being very careful to look and see what am I deleting, when did I create it, which was the 9th Wednesday of this last week. So I'm going to say yes, and all of these things will disappear. Gone. Now, let's really reorganize a portion of my computer. Remember that I told you that I had all the mini seminars that I had constructed on this computer in one folder called Camtasia Studio. If I click this, it shows you every one of the mini seminars that I have, and some other videos also that I have created, and they are all here just alphabetically. Look at that. Those are all, every one of those folders down to here is a mini seminar or a video that I have created for one purpose or another. And in each one, like back in, let's see, back in 2012, no, that's another case where I loaded it. I loaded it onto the computer, so it's dated 2012. At any rate, quite a while back, I did a mini seminar called on backup schemes. And it was in 2010. And there's a subfolder called Backup Schemes 2010, and then there's Backup Schemes 2010 under that, because that's the way Camtasia Studio organizes your files when you create videos in Camtasia Studio. And in this one is the actual AVI, the actual video that I created. It's 49 megabytes about backup schemes, and that's also on my website. Well, you know, that's very interesting, but look at all the different subjects that there are. Quick Launch, a Quicken tutorial, Picasa, organizing your computer. That's the one I'm working on right now and saving files in here. Keyboard shortcuts, managing Halakipa. That's one I built for my kids. It's a separate video. It's not not for it's not on YouTube for the general public. How to install a new printer. All of these things are just alphabetical under Camtasia Studio. There is a better way to organize them. The better way to organize them is to go on the internet and go to Hank's mini seminars and tutorials. This is the same thing that you will get if you go to the Seniors Computer Group website and go to Hank's tutorials or Hank's mini seminars. You see that I have all of my mini seminars organized by type. And subcategories are A, computer basics, B, basic computer processes, like copy, cut, and paste. This stuff is really about computer basics. This is about learning everything you want to know about your computer, so it's slightly different between computer basics and basic computer processes, like cleaning up your hard drive, etc. Then there are special computer processes, some of which are pretty complicated, and there are 22 of those. And then there are things about Windows 7 and individual programs and so forth. That is the way that I'm going to organize all of those folders under Camtasia Studio. I'm going to go through and find the folder that is probably titled Beginners and Other Endangered Species, and I'm going to make a folder under Camtasia Studio called Computer Basics General. I select Camtasia Studio, I click New Folder, I type Computer Basics General, and then type Enter. And I now have a folder called Computer Basics General. If I now go to Beginners and Other, if I now go to Beginners and Other Endangered Species 2, somewhere there was a 1, and I right drag that to Computer Basics General, and I look and make sure it says Move to Computer Basics General, then I let go of the right mouse key and I say Move here. Now when I look under Computer Basics General, I find Beginners and Other Endangered Species, and within that I find Beginners Part 1 and Beginners Part 2, and the media for each one, and the actual Beginners Part 1 and Beginners Part 2 videos. I'm not going to make you sit through my doing that for all the various mini seminars, A, B, C, D, and the 17 and 14 and 32 videos that there are in each of these, but that's what I'm going to do, and that's how I'm going to get my computer more organized than it was when I started putting this together today. I hope you find it useful.